How are you guys? Welcome back to Wargaming China, my little free channel where I discuss the Sino, the war of resistance against Japanese aggression from September 18th, 1931 until the end of the Second World War. Now, last week, or the last time, I did a presentation on understanding the Chinese armies from 1931 to 1934. And in that video, by the end of it, I realized there was a lot of things I should have said. So what I did was I decided to focus on the Fujian rebellion of November 33 to January 34 in the province of Fujian, and explain to you guys how, or I'll try to explain to you guys how this period is so difficult to understand, because this is just one incident in the period 31 to 35 that I was discussing in that video, and it's a time that deals with the encirclement campaigns, the Long March, and what I'll try to do today is try to explain how this situation has developed in Fujian and how it will affect the war against the Chiang's drive against the communists and precipitate the Long March for the Red Army. Now, it's a complex subject. It's going to be a long one. So if you're not interested in this, go now. If you are, press like and subscribe so I keep doing this stuff. And I'll come over here to my notes. Now, as I was saying in my previous video, the Long March has affected many things, and how every warlord played his part or obeyed Chiang's orders for the destruction of the communists would dictate how that warlord would go in the future. Now, in previous videos, if you watched them, I did a series of presentations on the January 28th incident. And one of the heroes of the January 28th incident is General Kai Ting Kai's 19th Army. Now, the 19th Army under General Kai Ting Kai, had hoped to take possession of at least the Chinese part of Shanghai. And this would have been of a great benefit to General Ting Kai himself, because once you have 30,000 armed men in Shanghai, you've got a good deep trough to get graft out of, bribery, corruption. They were all there. He hadn't lost the battle. He had been ordered to retreat. He had done so. But where had Chiang sent him? Well, Chiang didn't want General Ting Kai's star to shine too bright. So he sent him to what would have been the backwaters of China, Fujian province, an agricultural area of forested mountains, rocky peaks, and fingers of rock jutting up into skylines. Looks very beautiful in pictures, and it was an agrarian state, so there was no way that Ting Kai could even refill his war chest, because he spent his own money on during the 28th incident to arm his army. So his war chests were low at the end of that battle. And Chiang rewarded him by sending him to Fujian province, which would have been bad enough. But he expects him to go to Fujian province and face the communists. Now, why does he expect him to go to Fujian province and escape the communists? Because Chiang, by this time, has organized his forces and he's in the 5th encirclement campaign. Now, there are 4 encirclement campaigns for each communist Soviet. So there are a lot of circle campaigns, but the one we'll focus on is the one for the Jiangxi Soviet. Now the Jiangxi Soviet was the largest of all the Soviets, and it bordered on Fujian province and Guangdong. And I don't have a map here in front of me, but the main borders were with Fujian province and Guangdong. Now, in the first encirclement campaign against the Jiangxi Soviet, the Red Army had faced the Red Army had basically faced 4 prongs of Chinese forces. The Red Army had retreated and maneuvered, and in classic guerrilla warfare had united its strength to wipe out the columns of the National Revolutionary Army, of Chiang's National Revolutionary Army, one by one. So this campaign, which went from November 30th, 1930 to January 1931, was a disaster for Chiang. But the communists had done well out of it because of all the arms they'd captured and all the nationalist soldiers that had defected to them. So not long afterwards, Chiang organizes the second encirclement campaign. And this time, he has 200,000 men and the Red Army about 30,000. And again, the nationalist forces, the NRA, focused for their drive on Sichuan, and in the process of which they again divide their forces for the assault, for the drive on the city. And once again, the communists, by retreat, maneuver, and regrouping, and then attacking, are able to wipe out, I think it's the 18th Division of the NRA at Dragon Hill, in and around Dragon Hill. So again, this precipitates an evacuation of Chiang's forces and the end of the second encirclement campaign. Now, again, the communists have ended up stronger by sticking to their guerrilla methods, and thus have captured vast sums of arms, many thousands of rifles in these 2 encirclement campaigns. Now, the third encirclement campaign is very interesting because it goes from July 1st, 1931, and it ends on September 18th, 1931, which is, if you know your history or you watch this channel, you'll know is the Mok Den incident. So this attack, again, it wasn't going very well for the NRA, but it definitely was Japanese intervention. But also in Mok Den, also in the third campaign, we see the beginnings of blockade warfare conducted by the NRA. And usually blockade warfare are positions parallel to the line of attack or in conquered territory, which will be occupied built and occupied by cooperative warlike troops. Troops like Chai Jiteng's troops from Guangdong. So here in the third campaign we see the beginning of the blockhouse system. Now by the fourth campaign, the fourth encirclement campaign, Chiang has mobilized 500,000 men. And the communists by this time are about 70,000, but remember, every time an encirclement campaign has been defeated, the communists have grown stronger. And as I said, and I say once more, this is the fighting around just Jiangxi Soviet. There are 3 others. with their own separate encirclement campaigns. So, as I said, the third campaign encirclement campaign ended again in the defeat of Chiang's forces. Now we look at the fourth. Now for the fourth encirclement campaign, from March 22nd, 1933 until from January 33 to March 33, we'll see that again more blockhouses will be built, and but again the communist forces will allow the nationalist forces, the government forces, to enter Jiangxi, and then when the government forces are split for further drives, attack them individually when they were isolated and wipe them out. So by the end of March 1933, the communist forces, the Red Army, is victorious, it's stronger, it's got more rifles, it's captured artillery. But Chiang hasn't given up on this. Now, we'll start the fifth encirclement campaign, and this one will be different because it will be supervised by Alexander von Falkenhayn and von Seck, the German advisors, military advisors. They'll be looking over Chiang's shoulders, and it will involve 1 million men. Now, as I said before, it was starting to become the norm that provincial warlord forces would man the blockhouse system. Now, fortunately for Chiang, and unfortunately for the communists, around about the same time in spring 1933, both forces were just having a good look at their strategies. Chiang, with his German advisors, was a firm believer that his lines of blockhouses were working, and he chose a situation of tactical defense and strategic offense, which means he would build a blockhouse system which would only be concerned with locality, and eventually you got enough of those and you got a strategic situation where you control the communists. And it was working. They were strangling off Jiangxi province, and the warlord troops were manning the defensive positions. And as I said, we'll get back to the communists. What were the communists doing in the spring? They were all talking about their tactics. And Otto Braun, the German advisor, and Bo Gu, who was now head of the military wing, decided that conventional warfare would be the way to go for the Red Army. Well, this coincided nicely with Chiang's fifth encirclement campaign. Now, the fifth encirclement campaign went from the 25th of September 1933 to the 10th of October 1934. A short but brilliant campaign. Lichuan was a city with all previous four encirclement campaigns, and 4 times the previous armies had been annihilated, or divisions of the previous armies had been annihilated by the communists. This time they were there in 3 days. And the reason is because the communists chose to stand and fight, and they couldn't stand up to the nationalist firepower and training. Now, it's got to be remembered this time that both armies operate under their political armies. Maybe the government army isn't as much as a political army as the Red Army. I mean, there was no more political army than the Red Army, but they are still soldiers that are motivated by officers giving political speeches. So, in Fujian province, General Kai Tinkai is facing the communists. And he thinks, I haven't been rewarded. Now, he, along with, I'm going to forget the names here, Ming Shung and another nationalist commander in Fujian province, declared the Fujian People's Republic on the 22nd of November 1933. And the Fujian People's Republic exists until the 13th of January 1933. Now, this is all during the Fifth Encirclement campaign. So in the midst of this Fifth Encirclement campaign, this one he's got his, when Chiang thinks he's got his hands around the communist throat, General Jing Kai, whose forces would be manning one of the block lines, are in some kind of alliance with the communists where there's no fighting going on the front. It wasn't an alliance recognised by the whole communist command, but it certainly seems to have been a local ceasefire along the Fujian line of the Jiangxi Soviet, that the Fujian troops ran in blockhouses were, you know, there was a ceasefire. Now, the Reds didn't want to back this, and the rebellion itself wasn't very popular because, as we saw earlier when I talked about the HS-123, when Chai Jitang of Guangdong had tried also to increase his autonomy and split with the government, nobody had backed him because everybody knows the Japanese are coming and nobody wants to show a divided nation in front of Japan. Well, not officially, but there's lots of conflicts and incidents and rebellions between 1931 and 1935, the period of that last video. And this is just one, the Fujian Rebellion. So it's put down the 19th Route Army, the proud 19th Route Army, the unconquered heroes of Shanghai in 32, and now the People's Revolutionary Army. And they are facing Chiang's forces as they drive into Fujian province. Now, how I set up the game was that I had 3 squadrons of cavalry, an armoured car, a mortar battery, and an artillery battery of Type 14s, 105s, and 2 battalions of NRA, National Revolutionary Army infantry. And I thought we'll have maybe a 9-turn game. And how we did, you know, I play solo, so I'll explain it. I just set up all the nationalists, all the People's Revolutionary Army, the former 19th Army, in these positions. And then I, you know, because I know what the 19th Army had, so I just suppose what they would still have had in equipment-wise. And, you know, 75mm Krupp. And my plan, what the government plan, well, first of all, the rebels set up, down on the other side of the table, flip a dice, odds are even which side the government forces come on, but the cavalry always come central at the table. And of course I planned for it to the cavalry to enter, like, you know, on turn 3, perhaps by the time the infantry had finally got out of the ditch. But the infantry didn't get out of the ditch until turn 5 because of bad dice, which meant by the time the Chinese cavalry got up the road to face the 6 companies, 2 medium machine guns, and a 37mm Type 11 and Krupp 75mm gun of the People's Revolutionary Army, the infantry support was still in the ditch, and riflemen and a machine gun and a mortar in this soon turned 3 squadrons into half a squadron, at which time their morale broke. But you know, they're fighting here. You see, I've restricted the 19th Route Army's ammunition to only 3 turns of ammunition. So the government forces were always going to win this game, but it was a question of how long and how much damage the 19th Route Army gave before their morale collapsed. And they did as good as they got. The government forces eventually, the infantry caught up, by which time the flank of the 19th Army had collapsed. Only the armoured car and 6 horsemen were left. Now, when you field cavalry, guys, Always coordinate your squadrons by the colour of the horse. Bay, black, white. Never mix the colours of your horses with cavalry squadrons. They're all the same colour in the same squadron. So, after the horses had to retire, the armoured car had infantry support, it didn't have to. And this flank, they failed their final morale test. And the guns, when they fired, missed every shot and were quickly knocked out by artillery fire from the 105s over there and a mortar battery over here. So, you know, that was the game. First time I fielded my one of my latest builds. Nice Chinese armoured car, Mark 29. I must do a video on it. Okay guys, oh yeah, the scenery. I found some astroturf at work, so I cut up the cane fields, rocks from the ground, and just some old scenery, plastic figures as usual, the old Airfix, and plastic palm trees. I believe you get them at the cake shop, wholesalers, whatever that is called. All right, mate. Well, guys, thank you for that. I hope I wasn't too boring. I hope I made it clear for you how this was a factor, and Chang was so very angry at General Tin Kai. Now, I'm going to tell you this, by the end of January, when this was over, General Tin Kai's forces are manning those block positions and thrusting forward, and they're quite dependable. But now, as I said, we'll get back to the long retreat. Now, if you look at some books, and mainly Western books, we'll notice that the long retreat, the long march goes from 16th October 1934 to 22nd of October 1935. But if we ask the People's Liberation Army's official history, the long march starts in August 1934 and continues until October 1936. Now, when we look at what kind of alliance that the communists might have made with the People's Revolutionary Army of General Tin Kai, the former 19th Army, we have to look at how desperate the situation was by January 34 for the Red Army. Now, the event that most of us require is for triggering the Red Army is on October the 16th, the Red Army attacks the blocking line around Yudu, and then the breakout and the long march begin. Now, they would have actually faced a lot more opposition because the next barrier along that they had to go past was General Chai Jiteng's, Governor Chai Jiteng's Guantang Army in secure block lines. So what did Chai Jiteng do? Well, he doesn't want to lose his army. He's got 300,000 men in this. He doesn't see the communists as much of a threat as Chang. So he lets him go through his lines. The General Chai Jiteng lets the communists advance over his block lines, and it's got to be said that the communists were losing thousands of men in other sectors trying to break through block lines. This is some bloody fighting before the retreat and during the first days of the retreat. But General not in the Guangdong sector of the line, because the Red Army's allowed through because of a good bit of negotiation. So this is why in later years Chang will hold a hell of a grudge against Chai Jiteng. Now then, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it made sense. Press like and subscribe. I always like to see new subscribers, guys. So that's it. Complex subject wrapped up as quickly as I could. I didn't put many names in it because, hell, I forget them. But, what else did I get on the table to show you? Oh yeah, Type 14s. Lovely. Airfix cavalry. Alright, that's a lot. Cheers, bye.